Welcome in, everybody, to the Important Nonsense Podcast. Steve Bonham, Neil Smith, Mike Manning, 32 teams in 32 days. Today, the Lions are back, baby. For you, Jack. How's it going, guys? Detroit.
Woo! Raise the roof again, Detroit. I love it. Like you said, you warned us to prepare to be sad in the
Motor City Kitties.
Yeah, before we started, you warned us to prepare to be sad, and I was like, I kind of raised an eyebrow because it's like, this is where we're going to be sad. In a couple days, we have the Houston show. That's where I'm going to be sad. I don't know. This is a lot better than that.
Yeah, it's got MCDC going on. You know, the Hard Knocks getting ready for that. So
That's right.
This could be a lot. This could be interesting. I like it.
We are recording this today on July 27th. So if any of the information we're giving you seems out of date, probably because it is. Also, everything is 12-team PPR. So once again, if you don't use a 12-team league or PPR scoring settings, adjust accordingly. Everything's based off of our projections on the website. You can find it all at importantnonsense.com, and make sure you're signing up at patreon.com/importantnonsense to get these episodes a couple days early. We would appreciate it. And you could to jump in the Discord, ask us questions, follow up with anything. And then, of course, we will follow up with everything on our August 26th wrap-up show live. Come ask us questions. We'll answer them for you. Get
Also,
you
for
ready
$3, if you want to sign up, you could also get our rankings. All three of us.
Yep. There you go. But here we go. Detroit. Quarterback. And I put that in air quotes because it's Jared Goff. Jared Goff, still the guy.
And we finished this section already.
I'm so vindicated.
So it's like we had the first half of these episodes where it was like, well, let's just skip past quarterback because it's top 5. What do you talk about? So now it's Jared Goff. It's bottom 5. So what do you talk about? I mean, not even in a super flex league do I want Jared Goff. They're going to throw it a bunch, but that just gives him more opportunities to throw it to the wrong team. So I don't think this is worth spending much time on.
I'm so vindicated over the years. My Jared Goff is bad at football argument just gets better with time. It's aging like a fine wine. Like it's so good. But yeah, it's crazy because what's funny is I've got him out of startable territory at 25, and I'm used to being the one who takes a swing at that tomato can. And both of you got him at 30. So it's I got to step my game up. Apparently, I got to get him down to 32.
Well, he's moved his way into that category of veteran quarterback who has literally no upside, and the floor is the basement. Why am I taking Jared Goff? If I'm in a situation where I've drafted Jared Goff, something has gone horribly wrong with my draft and my team, and I am in trouble.
It's true.
I'm planning for 2023. That's what I'm doing.
In the draft, too, which is crazy. You just punted the whole season.
Yeah, it's like,
right
wow,
there.
My year's already over that quickly. Amazing. But I got nothing. Anybody want to say anything about
the one nice thing I will say is he's probably just good enough to not crater out the skill position guys that we're going to pivot into here momentarily that you might actually care about. Beyond that, that's it.
Well, it's a nice little backhanded compliment we can give him at least.
Sure, good enough. All right, running back. DeAndre Swift, Jamaal Williams, and Craig Reynolds. Yes, that's right. Craig Reynolds. DeAndre Swift should see a massive receiving workload. Again, completely agree with that. Nobody targeted running backs more than Goff prior to Swift's injury in Week 12. He had the 4th lowest RB target rate after Swift got hurt. So it wasn't that he loved throwing to the running backs. It was that he loved throwing to DeAndre Swift, and we'll get more into that later. Swift had back-to-back 130 rushing yard games prior to his injury in Week 12. We all have him as a top 10 guy. I say this every year. There's always somebody in my top 10, I feel like, at running back and wide receiver who I feel like, you know what, I like that player. I feel like they're going to be good. But if I had to pick somebody to bust, this is the guy that concerns me. And I'm concerned that Swift might be that guy for me this year. I'm high on him. I think he's going to be good. But I've also seen people take him as high as RB5. And that scares me.
Remember last year when people were fading DeAndre
It's the
Swift.
overcorrect.
I know.
It's the classic overcorrect.
Can we go back to last year? Because that
Yeah.
was so much more friendly in the market where people were just.
Because you and I were talking about what an unbelievable value it was to steal DeAndre Swift in the third round
Such a
of every
value.
single draft we were in.
What a value.
And now he's going as a top 7-ish pick in basically
know.
every draft.
I know, and I don't like
You have.
Payne's sticker. I really don't. But if I will say this, I'm the highest on him. I have him at 6, and it just you mentioned Jared Goff loved throwing him the ball. Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
His efficiency numbers were great. They don't have much else going on. He is an electric athlete with the ball in his hand. All you have to do is watch him play 5 carries, and you'll see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Also, as my joke from last year, they put it right on the back of the jersey for you. It's a very appropriately named what you're getting. So I love it. I do feel your concerns about the bust, also because there is some injury stuff to go through because he had the AC joint sprain, messed up his shoulder, cost him a bunch of time during the season. They tried to bring him back. Clearly, he wasn't ready. And then they were smart enough because they know Dan Campbell is smart enough to know not winning nothing that matters. Shut him down because he's my future. So I think they're going to go right back to the well here. It's just a question of can he deal with the physical pounding that he is going to have to take given the position that he plays. That's my one and only concern is can he take the hits? Because I have no concerns about whether or not they'll give him the ball or about what he'll do with the ball when he gets it. All that's great. It's just can he deal with the pounding?
If we're looking at it, it's one of arguably the best offensive line in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's
really good.
A bad offense in general that will likely be behind. So you're going to see the receiving back see plenty of work. And he's no slouch in the red zone or by the goal line at all. And they weren't afraid to use him like that. So he's getting plenty of work. They often were splitting time in the beginning of the season with Jamaal Williams, and he was getting more work than I liked or expected last year. But they realized eventually, like, Swift is just so much better of a player.
Yeah.
That why are we doing this?
Right. Yeah. Again, like for me, I think he's talented. I think he's a top 10 guy. I think he's going to have a good season. My concern is can he stay healthy? And then the actual rushing work, because like the biggest value for Swift has always been the pass catching. And what has helped him in that pass catching is the fact that there's been nobody else to throw to on the offense. And it's basically just been him and TJ Hockenson. Who else do you want to give the ball to? They went out and got options. So they have other bodies they can throw to this year other than just DeAndre Swift a ton. And we'll get into that here pretty quickly. But that's literally my only concern with Swift. It's not talent. It's not that he won't get volume. It's that I think he can certainly have a top 12 season. And at the very worst, he would be a high-end RB2. But I really don't want to spend a top 10 pick on a guy that I have questions about.
I'm a little more willing to do it than you are, I think, just because I believe in the upside. That sweet, sweet, tasty upside that we're always looking for. Because if the cards break his way, would anybody have any pushback for me on DeAndre Swift top 5 running back if he could actually stay healthy? I don't think anybody's going to challenge me on that. Yeah, that's what I like about it is it's that juicy upside. And also we talked about this in several shows. The backup in this case being Jamaal Williams, who we have historically liked, Steve, you and I. We've talked about this year on year.
We've
underrated
rated
player.
Him higher than ECR.
Yeah, underrated player, in our opinion. Both of us share this opinion. Underrated. He's actually decent. He's not great, but he's serviceable. And I like the fact that I could get DeAndre Swift and I can get an above-average replacement in Jamaal Williams for not that high of an investment. He's not he's I will say the one thing that makes me nervous about that is when they tried to give Jamaal Williams the whole workload when Swift went down, that didn't go so hot. So that's a little nerve-wracking, but at least on paper, I'm kind of back to where I was last year. I kind of want them both. I'm more than happy to deal with that. If I'm going to spend up for Swift at the rate that I know you're uncomfortable with, if I'm going to do that, I kind of want to make the commitment to getting Jamaal Williams in the 10th, 11th round, about where he kind of lives. I imagine his ADP can't be too skewed from that. That's about where he should be. So it's an interesting situation there. But yeah, I have no interest in Craig Reynolds or Jamar Jefferson.
He is RB 52, and he is going in 14th round.
Yeah. And you and I both have Jamaal Williams right around RB40.
Yeah.
And that's not different year on year for either of us. That's about right. And so I'd be more than happy to get Swift early and take Jamaal Williams in the 14th round and staple that together and call it good. That's right. I'm good with it.
And again, I think it's worth noting that yes, last season Swift missed 4 games, weeks 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Yes.
He came back for the last 2 and was kind of limited.
Yeah,
he didn't really play much. He didn't really play much in those last 2 games. They made a token attempt, but by then they were already eliminated anyway.
And Craig Reynolds was actually the one who was like the quote unquote star while Swift was out. But you have to keep in mind, Jamaal Williams was also hurt during that time frame. He missed 2 of those 4 games. The 2 games that he played, he had 17 carries for 71 yards and then 19 carries for 77 yards. He was the workhorse out of the backfield. Reynolds was just getting the pass catching work. But the between the tackles guy was Jamaal Williams. So yes, he is for sure the handcuff in this situation. And of the 2, he is the one I would rather have. And if you are going to pay up for Swift, I agree. Get that late round handcuff to go with him. All right, wide receiver. So they added him. They did it. DJ Chark coming in. They also have Josh Reynolds still. Remember, they got him off waivers from the Rams mid-season last year. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown was the breakout star of the team last season.
Called it.
He was our 2021 league winner in the awards show at the end of the year. He had 5 top 10 PPR finishes in the final 6 weeks. But you noted it here, Mike. I also have it in my notes. Weeks 1 through 12, when TJ Hockenson, DeAndre Swift, and Amon-Ra St. Brown were all healthy, all playing, and all on the field together, 7 targets per game for Hockenson, 6.4 targets per game for DeAndre Swift, 4.7 targets per game for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that was the best wide receiver of all of them. And then weeks 13 through 18, with Hockenson out and Swift basically out, 11.2 targets per game to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So yes, he feasted and he put up gigantic numbers, but he did it with literally no competition and getting the entire workload all to himself. So during that time frame, he doubled every other Lion from weeks 13 to 18 in every receiving category. He was the wide receiver 2 in PPR points per game during that stretch, behind only Cooper Kupp. So yes, he had a great finish to last season, but there's no shot in hell he can repeat those kind of numbers, right? I mean, there's so many things that would have to go right for him for that to happen again this year. I know you guys are significantly higher than I am on Amon-Ra St. Brown. So sell me the magic beans. Tell me what I'm missing.
Sure, I'll sell you the magic beans. One of the things that you mentioned and then it didn't come up in the formal breakdown there was they brought in Josh Reynolds at one point. I remember this very clearly because I remember I poo-pooed that idea very loudly on this show, and basically made some comment about Josh Reynolds is barely a professional wide receiver. What the hell is that going to do? Well, it actually did something that I wasn't expecting. It made them adjust coverage because Josh Reynolds is actually good enough that you have to cover him. And you couldn't say that about anybody else that was on the Lions at that time. You really couldn't say anything about that. And now you have 2 guys. You have DJ Chark and you have Josh Reynolds returning. One way you could analyze that is, okay, well, then they're going to have to spread that around. You're going to have to account for all of those things. So Amon-Ra has to come down to make room for DJ Chark and Josh Reynolds. Here's my counter argument to that. I don't think DJ Chark is that great. I'm not sold on the DJ Chark. That's the difference between how you and I have this rated. You have them basically right on top of each other in your rankings. You got them at 41 and 45 respectively. I've got, and I will qualify my Amon-Ra St. Brown ranking here real quick because I have him at 22. And yeah, pick your monocle up that fell in your drink. I know, and put it back in your eye. It's fine. Rinse it off. It's similar to your Marquise Brown ranking that we've explained and several other things. That's where I'm comfortable. But you don't have to pay up for that. Now, I will say it's not as much of a discount as the Marquise Brown argument, but it's the same basic idea. You don't have to draft him there, but that's where I think he could go. Reason being, I'm not convinced DJ Chark's going to actually stay healthy. Josh Reynolds is helpful in real football terms, but he's just a guy. And we'll get into it here, but we haven't mentioned him yet. Jamison Williams, fantastic player. I spoke glowingly about him during the draft coverage that we did. I do believe all of the things that I said. I just don't think he's going to play very much this year. Yeah. So since this is redraft focused, I actually think it's not that far out of the realm of possibility that Amon-Ra St. Brown target monster could be a thing again, and probably will be a thing again. Also, given the qualifiers that TJ Hockenson has never been the picture of health, neither has DeAndre Swift. So you want to you want me to sell you the magic beans? There's the magic beans. I brought them in the cart, putting the water on them for you. The beanstalk's coming up. That's the way that would have to go, and I don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibility. But I will say this: you also know me, and I'm an Amon-Ra St. Brown truther. Have been since he came into the league. I make no apologies. So I can understand why people would be scared and why they would want to hedge. I get it. I do it myself. But this is this is the hill that I will die upon. So
Jamison Williams, like you mentioned, he was their first round pick this year, tore his ACL near the end of the 2021 season, at the end of his collegiate career. So his whole
been the number
year
one
is
wide
up
receiver in the class, I believe, if he didn't tear his ACL. So he's got some shots.
He has potential to maybe play the last 5 or 6 games of the season, but it's completely up in the air.
By the time we get to there, and
it's more of a dynasty nugget than anything. But for redraft, he's definitely not worth drafting. And for just even wasting a spot on your bench, it's not somebody you want to worry about until maybe mid-season at the earliest. Mike, you are right in the middle of both of us here. So what's your take on Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I mean, the beans that you sold, that you were selling them well. That all, it makes sense.
Right.
You know, the Hockenson Swift injury concerns. I don't think Chark is going to be much of anything this season other than
also the DJ Chark injury concerns.
Yeah, and he'll have flashes, but I didn't think he's anything, phenomenal. And Josh Reynolds is just a guy. So this was if either one of those two even misses time between Hockenson and Swift, then Amon-Ra is going to have a big uptick in his usage. And he was used all over deep. He had some opportunities. He had a lot of slot opportunities and short to be able to make yak after the catch. And he even lined up in the backfield, a handful of times. So it's like they knew what they had. They just weren't, they didn't feel comfortable unleashing him yet or something along those lines. I don't know. I'm not Dan Campbell, but they eventually did and saw he was a really good NFL player. So now that they know what he can do, it's not like they're going to relegate him to number 2, number 3 wide receiver. No, he's the number 1 wide receiver on an offense that's going to throw the ball, like we said, plenty. And we don't have to worry about Jared Goff's noodle arm or lack of will to target downfield. Amon-Ra can make a living with 10-plus targets and, maybe a touchdown or something like that. So I'm not high on him, but I like him where he's going.
I mean, so right now his ADP is wide receiver 26. So it's already 6 spots ahead of where you have him ranked. It's basically right where Neil has him ranked. And that's way too rich for me. I mean, I already knew he was going to get overdrafted just based on how he finished last year. And that's basically how it's panning out right now. Again, my major concern is when he actually succeeded, he was getting those 11.2 targets per game. Josh Reynolds was there. And like you said, just a guy. He was getting 6 targets a game, but it was mainly because there's nobody else. But even then, you're talking about 17 total targets in the passing game to focus on, which was the same thing it was the first 12 weeks. It was just Hockenson, Swift, and Amon-Ra. So now you add DJ Chark, who has had top 20 fantasy seasons, has been fantasy relevant.
He's better. DJ Chark is still better than a guy. He's better than Josh Reynolds. He's not a guy. He's slightly better than that.
He's better than Josh Reynolds, and Josh Reynolds is still there. and now you have Hockenson back, and you have Swift back. So to me, in order to get back to where he was last year and having the monster wide receiver 2 numbers he was putting up, Amon-Ra St. Brown would have to have everybody else get hurt again. And it could happen based on their injury histories. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I'm not going to bet what is that, 6th round pick on it? That's too rich for me.
I understand. There's a certain level of risk tolerance you've got to be comfortable with here with anybody playing for Detroit.
Yeah.
And it's just a question of who do you think's going to capture that magical, juicy, nectary upside that we can talk about here all day long. And I think, for me, the ones that I'm really excited about are Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think those are the future. I think they know that's the future, and that's what they're going to go with. There are some warts, and there's some risk. I acknowledge all of this. But these are risks I'm willing to take because, with the exception of Swift going as early as he is, you can't really lose your league in the 6th round. You follow me? Like you could put your khaki pants on and get some more stable players if that's what you want to do, because you're still talking about, even where I have him at 22. If he's going at 26, you are still talking about top end wide receiver 3.
Yeah. So
you can't really, I don't think you can lose it by taking a shot there, and you can go conservative to wallpaper around it if that's what you want to do. So it's,
how about it? Go ahead, finish.
No, I was just saying, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. What's up?
Because I just want to, like, if you're, as we've been thinking about it, like, what comes to my head is you're looking at the Chicago Bears offense as well, and they're almost mirror with just a very much worse quarterback, like talent wise. So, there's nobody else that I'm really concerned with on the Bears outside of Darnell Mooney at wide receiver. Cole Kmet should get his targets certainly too. And then you have the running back that's going to get plenty of his options and touches. And I believe that they're going to be plenty of a run-first offense in Chicago.
Sure.
Is Dan Campbell going to let them throw the ball more now that he has a healthy Hockenson, healthy Swift, a solidified, to say the least, offensive line, and now Amon-Ra, a receiver that finally has broken out for him? Because the wide receivers, even at the start of the season, were by far the worst in the NFL in Detroit. So now that somebody has actually emerged as a talented wide receiver, they signed a veteran that is solid, as we have to put it. It doesn't hurt to throw the ball more.
I mean, that's a fair comparison, but I would say Hockenson, even with injuries, is better than Kmet, and I would take Chark and Reynolds over any wide receiver that isn't Darnell Mooney on the Bears.
So the Lions are a slightly more expensive Bears offense.
Yeah. I'm just saying there's slightly better options than the Bears.
Because I think Mooney is going around the same range in terms of ADP.
And I think if we were just going to go by Steve,
Darnell Mooney is going 2 picks ahead. He's wide receiver 3. He's 23. Amon-Ra's 26. So they're going in basically the same range, where Mooney has basically the entire workload to himself, and Amon-Ra is just going off of last year's numbers, basically.
Would you perform better than Mooney would? I would still take Mooney over Amon-Ra. I will say that. So, don't don't make the mistake of thinking that was my argument. I'm just saying that there are similarities to somebody that
I get what you're saying.
No, Mike, you're doing something that we'll do in the regular season, which is called playing devil's advocate. We used to have drops for it and everything.
Because again, this is another thing we've talked about several times now, which is drafting at the ceiling. Like, for me, Amon-Ra, we saw was number 2, like we talked about over those 5 weeks. But in order to hit that ceiling, we know that is his ceiling, but in order to hit it, literally everything had to go right for him to get there. So could it happen again? Sure. You could get a wide receiver 1 in the 6th round if you want to take a shot on him as your 2nd or 3rd wideout. But to me, I wouldn't draft my team around Amon-Ra St. Brown. It depends on how you build your first 5 rounds.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you're being asked to.
Yeah.
I think that's literally the difference. Is I don't think you're being asked to draft a team around Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think you
There's
could
another one where it's
literally
like
already have 5 starters before you get to this decision.
this feels like the Tyler Boyd argument that I've made for several years. It's like, look, if I can get Amon-Ra St. Brown as my flex, and he's my 4th wide receiver, and I don't necessarily have to depend on him having a monster game every single week, fantastic. But if I'm drafting him as my wide receiver too, I'm not interested in that.
Fair enough. The fun thing about this is that we're gonna see. But I think we can debate Amon-Ra St. Brown until the cows come home. And people may be listening to this wondering, why are they spending so much time on wide receiver? There's nothing else to discuss, folks. The only other thing that I would say is, for the other guys, any interest, like for me, I'm just passing on anything that isn't Amon-Ra St. Brown out of that wide receiver room. The way I have it ranked, you'd be pretty. I've got Chark down in the 60s, and I've got Williams down in the 80s, mostly because I just don't think Williams is going to play. He might play 2 games this year. Mm-hmm. And Chark, I'm just not convinced. I'm sure he'll play, and I'm sure he'll play well when he's out there. I've just got very little confidence that he's going to be able to get through the season. Based on what we've seen over the last several years, I'm not convinced he can do the whole year with Chark. So I'm kind of out on anything that isn't Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And DJ Chark is the one I want.
Okay.
Going in
I know you have him rated
round of ADP. So I mean, I've got him as a late flex option. I think he's going to be involved in the offense. I think he's going to be the down the field threat. With Williams out, so he's going to be involved. They signed him for a reason. Use that narrative, right? They paid him the money to make him the wide receiver 1 in the offense. He's the free agent acquisition.
The Russell Wilson argument, as we'll call it.
Exactly. But like it's Jared Goff, right? So just use the comparison here. Amon-Ra St. Brown thriving in the slot because that's the Cooper Kupp role. That's the check down. That's the comfort spot that he has. That's his safety blanket. DJ Chark is coming in to be the Robert Woods of this offense. So to me, he's the value. You can get him in the 15th round going wide receiver 62. So yeah, I'll take a late round shot on DJ Chark to potentially be a weekly flex or wide receiver 3.
I'll say this. If your league does have IR spots that allow for players that are on the PUP, I would be happy to send that last pick in the draft at Jameson Williams, throw him on your IR, and then pick up whoever you were going to draft. Because as we've said, he's just that much of a talent. We don't know. ACLs seem to be all over the place right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't expect Godwin to stay off of PUP and players like that. So time frames are becoming shorter and shorter as we go along.
Well, I mean, this hammers it home for me. I just said Chark is going wide receiver 62. Jameson Williams is going 61. We don't even think he's going to play this season, and he's going a spot ahead of DJ Chark, who will have a role on this offense. So,
well, even in the ECR, they have those two very near each other. The ECR's got it at 60 and 68. Chark slightly in the lead there. Yeah. But given the ADP of Chark, I would concede. Yeah, I could see that considering you're getting him for basically nothing.
And I think I have Williams ranked as like a late round guy, right?
You have him at 57.
Yeah. So I have him as like a late round draft pick. I'm willing to take a shot on, like you're saying, Mike, draft him, throw him on the IR, and then pick somebody up off waivers. That's what you do when you don't have to draft a kicker. You take Jameson Williams instead, and then you put him on your IR and pick up a kickoff or waivers. Yeah.
I mean, it just feels better to do that.
Exactly.
Just kick the kicker to the
It feels more satisfying to screenshot that draft board and just not have to have a kicker on it.
But I think we're all out on Quintez Cephas, Khalif Raymond.
Quintez Cephas has had like moments in the past, but yeah, there's too many mouths to feed in that room right now. So there's no path to him getting a consistent role in this offense. He's somebody that you could a name to remember down the line in case things go absolutely sideways.
Sure.
And it's literally just Amon-Ra St. Brown again, and then Cephas has a role, but otherwise, no. All right, tight end. Brock Wright is your starting tight end.
That's right.
Jack's got it right there.
That's right.
No, it's just the tight end.
We're done.
It's on top for some reason in this sorting. I absolutely love, by the way, he's got the fun chise down there in third string at tight end. Hilarious. But yeah, it's TJ Hockenson. We've talked about it several times. Finished on IR in 2 of his last 3 seasons here in the NFL. Started season strong with 2 top 5 finishes. He's consistently been a target monster, and he's had a red zone role, but he can never seem to break in to the top 5 at tight end. We always talk about it's the top 3, 4, 5 guys, and then everybody else. And he's unfortunately kind of shifted into that everybody else category, but I believe he's at the top of purgatory.
He is. I have him at that second tier now, as opposed to the true tier 1s. But
I think that is tier 3.
Yeah, when he's actually healthy, you can't really get too upset about what you receive. Is the only real knock I have on TJ Hockenson is it's just, can he stay healthy? That's always
he plays for Detroit, but
sure,
too.
He can't do anything about that though. He was drafted there. That's not on him.
He can
That's
in a couple seasons.
Luck.
The beauty of free agency.
I have him in tier 3 as well. Actually, he's in that third tier. Hockenson, Schultz, and
Kelsey,
Goddard.
Andrews, Pitts.
Yep, that's my tier
break.
2.
Kittle, Waller, tier break, and then everybody else.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got him in tier 3, top of tier 3. He's in that last group of guys before I'm ready to just punt the position entirely. So there's
got him at 6. I've got him at 7. Mike hates TJ Hockenson.
He does.
He's got him all the way down at 9. He's
he is
spit on
back
his
at that
grave.
I mean, I would rather Goddard and Schultz in that tier, and I think pretty handedly.
What a hot take.
Yeah, but still, we're sitting there and saying about for Amon-Ra is going to have his targets taken away by TJ Hockenson and Swift. Well, this also is going to go vice versa. As we said before, in the early big part of the season, it was just Swift and Hockenson. There was nobody else that saw like more than 3 or 4 targets. Well, so Amon-Ra is going to still get some targets. There's no doubt about that. And if you think that Chark is going to get some targets as well, those are both better wide receivers that are going to take targets away from TJ Hockenson and Swift. I think it comes more from Hockenson than it does Swift.
Yep. I would agree with that as well.
Probably.
So I think he's lower volume than he has been in the past, but he's still a red zone threat. And at tight end, it's always just who can catch.
Hey, maybe that'll be the thing that doesn't let him that prevents him from getting killed and missing a good amount of time. Like maybe that's the sauce. It's hard to say, but it kind of is what it is. And
we will we'll wrap by saying, instead of drafting the defense and kicker for the Lions, just head over to shop.importantnonsense.com. Get that abolish the kicker t-shirt, and you'll be all set. That's it. I mean, that's it.
That is it.
No more Detroit. There's no point. The rest of it's useless. So, all right. Well, moving on to the next team in the NFC North tomorrow. Unfortunately, Neil, it's another sad show for us.
Well, it's less sad because they're going to be.
Will unite. We will. Talking about the Packers. Closing thoughts today? No, good.
No, I'm good. Detroit is slowly building a team that might actually be good one day with their O-line.
I mean, I glossed over it, but the defense is going to be better this year.
Yeah.
And in that division with the Bears, they're not going to be the worst team in the division. So
yeah, Dan Campbell has slowly turned this roster around. Like they're slowly getting better. It's kind of interesting to watch how they're going about it.
All right. Done with Detroit. Green Bay tomorrow. Once again, patreon.com/importantnonsense. If you want to get these a couple days early, join us in the Discord. And until tomorrow, keep up the nonsense.
I'm Tim Kitzer from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, and you can find all the guys at importantnonsense.com. Kaboom!